Can I request all the panelists to please come on the dais? Justice Verma, Mr. Soli Sorabjee, Mr. P.P. Rao, Professor Prashant Kumar.
I would speak for about 10 minutes, and then we will have comparatively longer question and answer session. So that, because this is one of the most important things, not only, you see, to curb the menace of black money, but then something which is the real source of not only misgovernance, but most of the ills that we are facing in the country. And there is a vested interest in people who are supposed to make the change. And therefore, we have to address more on the methodology, how we can talk of electoral reform ad nauseum, but then everyone knows what needs to be done. But how to do it probably is, we have reached at a stage when that has become more important. I mean, the basic facts we know, criminalization of politics. Well, the other aspect of it, politicization of crime. That is, whenever there is a crime, well, people ask, "Why किस party का है? हमारे साथ का है, and he has been fixed. आपके साथ का है, जरूर किया होगा." I mean, this kind of thing. And you see, the cases involving those who really are governing, they are never ending. I think there is something which the judiciary has to answer for that. So that is also a related issue. And say, I remember when we were doing that Hawala case which Mr. Anil Divan mentioned in the earlier session. You see, the origin was two terrorists being caught with only a few lakhs of rupees, which was unaccounted, which led to the further disclosure, which indicated the involvement of persons from all walks of life, without exception. And what we found, which of course the vested interests were not interested in pursuing in spite of our saying so repeatedly, that you see, ultimately all of them were connected with one common source. So there was someone who was calling the shots and calling the tune to which everyone was dancing, and all the dancers may not even know each other. So actually that is the menace of black money, and of course the matter is in the court, many of you are involved in that. So unless, and I remember when I was in the court, and you see, there was one of the, and these are few prefatory remarks I want to make to indicate that there is a menace which, unless the people themselves do something about it, the vested interest will never let it happen. See, and there was a matter in which I think Ashok and Ram, etc., they were appearing, and the allegation was of, you see, corrupt practice of incurring some, you say, expense in excess of that which was permitted. And the allegation was that a few crores had been spent, which of course everyone knew. The allegation must be true. But then the person making the allegation also was in the same boat. So you see, and that is the time when Ram Jethamalani was actually inducted in at the last minute, if you remember, that case from Bala Sahib V.K. Patil. So it ended in a fiasco, nothing happened. And therefore, the question was that Amarnath Chawla's case was the usual alibi, the party spent it. So when Kuldeep Singh was dealing with that common cause matter, I suggested, why don't you interpret section 77 in this manner? That once an expense is proved to have been incurred for a candidate, well, the burden must shift to the candidate to prove that it was from, it was not authorized by him or whatever, I mean, whatever be the escape route. Well, no one spends money for the other person merely for the love of it. I mean, that is a quid pro quo. And the burden which was always on the petitioner, once you shift it, now what I am trying to, why I am mentioning this is, we have to find ways and means we lawyers have to find ways and means that if the persons who are required to make the law, if they are not going to do it, how can we do it otherwise? And one other incident, actual experience of mine, I'll tell you. Just before I became a judge in 1971, I was appearing for the returned candidate who happened to be minister here. And the usual allegation which everyone knew was true. But then a set of liars, L-I-A-R-S, as witnesses from one side and a similar set from the other side. So after the arguments were over and the minister came, I was leading that team of lawyers, he came to thank me. I told him, all this is all right. Now I want to talk to you as a lawyer because you are in the system. I said, why don't you people amend the law and delete this provision? I said, what about this hypocrisy? Everyone knows, the judge knows that the allegation is true. You know it is true, I know it is true, everyone knows it's true. But it can't be proved. And what he said in 1971, and this now 2000, he said he was an elderly gentleman, my father said. So, and he was also a lawyer earlier. He took my first name and he said, look here, at present there's no hope of any other party coming to power. We will remain in power. We will never do it. But rest assured, if the others come, they will not do it. And the reason, I'll tell you why. He said, we are all hypocrites, we all indulge in this thing, and we know no one believes us, and yet we not continue to talk like that. So this is the kind of thing you are facing. And you see, criminalization of politics, the figures don't matter. The whole thing is, those cases never end. Something has to be done about it. So these are the various aspects, and once again, you see, therefore, these speakers will tell you how to go about it. And Soli just now mentioned that I want to come back later on because we need to talk more about how this needs to be done. So may I now request Mr. Soli Sorabjee to take over.
With your leave, I will speak from here,
Please.
Justice Verma, fellow panelists, eminent lawyers, lawyers from all over India, and brothers and sisters in law. Though I'm part of the Bar Association of India, I learned when I went to China that they praise themselves. So I'd like to congratulate the Bar Association of India for the excellent program they brought out. But only one thing, I think, if I may say so, Mr. Divan, better lawyers, better justice. I should have thought better judges should have been added. Well, we have heard a very good presentation in the morning. I want to concentrate on just one aspect. You talked about electoral reforms. I don't know what was radical reforms, that's a different matter. Radical, but I'm going to do something radical. I'm not going to speak about what reforms and recommendations are necessary. The Law Commission has made a detailed report. Ram, the Law Minister. That was in 1999, I think, the 178th report. Then the committee, National Committee to Review the Working of the Constitution, headed by Chief Justice Yakesh Anand, where I was a member. We also made reports, made recommendations. Now, my problem is, and I want you to consider that, what happens when these recommendations, which we'll make very solemnly, are not implemented? This all sounded theory signifying nothing. We should concentrate on some machinery, some action plan for implementation. Some action plan, there may be various views. I don't necessarily recommend Anna Hazare's pass, but think about it, because why I feel disillusion is, Law Commission made a first-class report. Even that provision which Justice Verma spoke about as a deleted. National Review Commission did. Nothing so far. And if there is one recommendation which is incontrovertible, about which there can be no controversy, not radical or anything, that is the recommendation. The persons against whom charges have been framed by a court of law, not FIR, not charge sheet by CBI, in respect of offences where the sentence is 5 years or more, they should be ineligible for election. Does it require an amendment of the Constitution? Everyone has spoken about it. Apart from Law Commission, Mexico Commission, former election commissioners have reiterated this proposal. But what happens? Nothing. Nothing. But lo and behold, what do we see? Raja Bhaiya becomes a minister and minister for jails. This is really, sometimes I really feel, in India I think it's even two different worlds. Really that's the incredible India if you want. Now, that is what I said. I'm only focusing the need for this. Other speakers will of course say about the recommendations which are very necessary, which should be carried out. But this, please have an action plan for implementation. Otherwise it becomes meaningless to my mind. Having said that, may I take this opportunity, and I'm sure you'll join me, in paying a tribute to our election commissioner, Mr. Qureshi. He is doing an excellent job. I think his decision to countermand the Rajya Sabha polls in Jharkhand, I don't know, was sound and courageous. And I'm happy that the High Court of Jharkhand has upheld his decision and directed the Election Commission to hand over the case to the CBI. It struck me now, why can it have a provision? And in such a case, the Election Commissioner can himself hand over the case to CBI. It's all very well, this bench of the High Court took the view that he can do it, another bench went in a different view. So, if there is one provision which is necessary, one reform, it is to empower the Election Commissioner in a proper, appropriate case to himself hand over the case to the CBI. Justice Verma, I think I'm a little older than you. So now, but younger than Ram. So when people say, what do you look forward to, apart from other things, the field of art, music and literature, in our polity, I say I look forward to the time when lawbreakers will not be lawmakers and persons who are in parliament should be in Tihar jail. Thank you. This is my beginning. This is my radical beginning. And now I'll be followed by...
Thank you, Soli. Action plan is what really is needed. And I'm glad you mentioned the Election Commission, which is certainly doing a great job. Now may I request Mr. P.P. now? Wherever you want, wherever.
Opportunity to present a few thoughts before you on this important topic. In my welcome address, I refer to Addl Vajpayee's lecture, the memorial lecture delivered in 1998. He diagnosed the ills of democracy. I will give you just a glimpse of his ideas. Barring exceptions, those who get elected to parliament and state legislatures are neither trained in lawmaking nor do they have an inclination to acquire necessary knowledge and competence. Sadly, serious debate has ceased to take place in our elective bodies, which now resemble akhadas, arenas of bouts, fighting bouts, with noisy confrontation. Persons who are genuinely interested in serving electorates find it difficult to succeed in the present system. Elections are not reflecting the true will and aspirations of the people. The inclination of today's MPs and MLAs is to exercise executive power, and that too without accountability and much capability. High premium is placed on capturing power by fair and foul means. corruption in the governing structures has corroded the very core of elective democracy. Casteism, corruption and politicization have eroded the integrity and the efficacy of our civil services. He called for a debate. My regret is, having diagnosed the ills of democracy so well, he was in power for more than 6 years, but he could not carry through the electoral reforms necessary for it. That shows the defect in our system. Having an excellent leader at the top alone is not enough. The system needs to be changed. The members who sit in Parliament have to legislate. They should reflect the aspirations of the people. That's very necessary. There is no dearth of recommendations so far as electoral reforms are concerned. As Sorabjee has mentioned just now, the Law Commission in its 170th report has been an elaborate study, interacted with many people, NGOs and all, and made valuable recommendations. One of the recommendations made was, why don't you should debar a person against whom charges have been framed in a criminal case. Don't allow him to continue as a member of parliament or legislature. Don't allow him to contest an election. This was a suggestion made. So that once a charge is framed by a court, that means private issue there is a case to proceed. But what we find here, civil inquiries are going on one side, people are functioning as chief ministers, absolutely ignoring. And what's the provision in the Representative People Act? Even after conviction, if a stay application is filed, if appeal is filed, that's enough. It operates as stay for the duration of the appeal. So therefore, there's a serious system lapse here. In the B.R. Kapoor's case, where I also happen to represent one of the parties, the Tamil Nadu government perhaps, this is G.V. Patnaik. I invited the attention of the court to Vajpayee's analysis of the situation. He said that yes, to keep away criminals from entering legislatures, Parliament should take some steps. As Chief Justice Verma has said, this Kuldeep Singh also made suggestions about the need to regulate political parties, funding, etc. in common cause case. But all these suggestions are taken from time to time in the best interest of the nation, foreign affairs. Now this is Mr. Sorabjee, esteemed Vice President of our association. He referred to the Constitution Commission